You don't talk much. Some people hear that their whole lives. But what most people never stop to understand is this: it's not that they can't talk. It's that they refuse to talk in the wrong environment. There's a widespread belief that quiet people are simply always quiet. But psychology tells a completely different story. Many people who appear silent in one setting can be entirely transformed somewhere else. Expressive, talkative, even loud. Just not with everyone. Because communication was never just about personality. It's about comfort. It's about trust. It's about genuine connection. One of the deepest reasons people go quiet is the vibe of the room itself. When something feels forced, fake energy, people performing rather than connecting, they pull back. They don't feel the need to match the room. They won't contort themselves just to avoid being noticed. So they stay quiet. And they watch. Not because they're awkward. Because they're aware. Psychology explains this through something called social filtering. Some people instinctively filter where their words get invested. Even unconsciously, they're asking, is this worth my energy? Do I actually feel comfortable here? Are these people real? If the answer is no, they close down. But when they find the right people, everything shifts. The jokes come out. The opinions flow. The words arrive without being overthought. That's why you'll hear it: you were so quiet before, but now you never stop talking. That's not inconsistency. That's context. There's also something called psychological safety. People open up when they feel genuinely protected from judgment, from rejection, from being misread. If someone senses their words might be dismissed or twisted, they go silent. Not out of weakness, out of self-awareness. And past experiences carve deep grooves. Some of these people used to speak freely. Then they were interrupted one too many times. Dismissed. Not taken seriously. So they learned. They grew selective. They realized that not every room deserves their voice, and instead of fighting that, they simply honored it. There's also the matter of energy. People who don't talk much tend to be acutely aware of how interactions affect them internally. They feel the drain of hollow conversations almost immediately. So instead of engaging just to appear friendly, they conserve. They'd rather sit in silence than walk away feeling emptied by an exchange that meant absolutely nothing. And then there's authenticity. They won't fake it. They won't manufacture laughter to fit in. They won't perform enthusiasm they don't feel. If the connection isn't real, their silence says exactly that. Which is precisely why they're so often misread. People label them shy, unfriendly, arrogant. But it has nothing to do with ego and nothing to do with fear. It's about alignment. They show up where they feel it. They step back where they don't. They also observe before they commit. Walking into something new, they don't leap into conversation. They watch first. They study how people speak, how they treat each other, how they react under pressure. They're mapping the dynamics before deciding how much of themselves to reveal. This makes them deliberate. They don't speak to fill silence. They speak when their words carry actual weight, or when they feel safe enough to simply be themselves. And here's something else. They don't need everyone to like them. They're genuinely comfortable being misunderstood by some, as long as they remain real with the ones who matter. They'd rather be completely themselves with a few people than dilute who they are for the approval of many. The downside is that they rarely explain themselves. So people fill the silence with assumptions. And those assumptions are, almost always wrong. They get defined by people who've never actually reached them, and rather than correcting the whole world, they let it go. Something else worth knowing: silence doesn't feel uncomfortable to them. They don't feel the pressure to keep conversations alive artificially. Pauses feel natural. Stillness feels honest. Because they don't measure connection by volume of words. They measure it by how real the moment actually feels. And when they do choose to speak, pay attention. Because it means something. The words have been weighed. The decision has been made. That's why what they say tends to land differently. So when someone says you don't talk much, they're only seeing a fraction of that person. They're seeing them in a space where they haven't felt safe, seen, or connected enough to fully arrive. The truth is straightforward. They're not quiet everywhere. They're quiet where they don't feel like being themselves. Because some people don't talk much, not because they have nothing to say, but because they've learned that the wrong environment can silence even the most expressive soul.